So, when you're just doing whatever it is, okay? Let's say that you're just, meeting someone new and then you guys get to know each other and stuff like that. They don't really know who you are, you don't really know who they are. And so, after a while, you just start realizing who they are, right? And then they just ask you something that does not really align with what you want to do. Maybe that they tell you, oh, you know what, just take a hit, something like that, okay? And then you're just kind of in this kind of situation where you're kind of telling yourself, I don't know if I want to say no. Maybe that they're gonna think something of me if I don't say no. So you force yourself to do it when you could have said no, you know? And my point is that it's so important to teach yourself how to say no and just how to refuse things that you know you don't want to do. You are not meant to do everything someone is willing to ask you or wanting you to do. Maybe that they don't know your boundaries. You tell them no. If they stop talking to you for some because you said no, then okay, but you have to set up some boundaries and just start realizing that no is what you need to learn and have in your vocabulary at all times. You can't have people dictate every action you do. Every action should be allowed to be projected from your thoughts and you. You are willing to do it, you do it. You don't want to do it, you don't do it. What I hate seeing people doing is someone offering something to that person and that person just saying yes because they are not comfortable saying no, just because they don't really want to hurt their feelings, they don't want to be excluded, they don't want the person to see them a certain kind of way, they just want to do as the person says, just for them and their connection to be the same. But you cannot be with someone that doesn't know your boundaries. You have to have boundaries for yourself. If they don't want to respect your boundaries, if they're not for your boundaries, you can find other people. You just can't keep on living this kind of life. It also comes to the same thing in life, apart from relationships or connections, if there's some kind of if, for example, let's say that you're just running around the mall and just doing your own business, right? And it's kind of the end of the day. You have to go back home. You have to go do important things and you're in a rush. And then someone kind of stops you, right? And they're like, oh, can you probably just help me? Blah, blah, blah. Or just something like that. Just someone doing something, okay? You don't have to say yes, okay? If it's something that you can do and that there's nothing wrong, it's not gonna hurt you, it's not gonna hurt your values, then okay. But if you have something to do, if you can't do it at the moment, it's okay to say no. If someone is offering to have plans with you on a certain day, you don't have to say yes immediately. You guys can plan it on a day that you guys are both okay with. But what you can't do is try to just say yes or just show yourself available at each and every second that someone needs you just because you can't say no. What you need to do is be able to say no whenever you feel like it and whenever you think it's not right to say yes. I know that saying no should be such a simple thing, but I've come to realize that saying no is not as easy. It's not an easy thing. It's something that you learn and it takes time because sometimes you just feel like, oh, maybe that I'm kind of being rude, saying no. I could say yes, but after that, when you do say yes, you kind of feel like, ugh, I should have not done that. I should have just said no. Because when you say yes, you then start to feel bad about saying yes when you knew you shouldn't have. We're in a world where there's plenty of people that just do things that they do not want to do just because someone is telling them to and they feel like they should say yes. And then after that, they kind of regret it because it does not align with what they thought they were or what they are. And that's how people just start changing for the worse because they keep saying yes, yes, yes. And then it becomes more and more. And then that's when, for example, when they become teenagers and they grow up, grow up in this really kind of odd and not healthy atmosphere which attracts people that they don't want or that they didn't want when they were younger. That's why it's so important to start learning how to say no so that you just continue building what you want to, because the more you say yes, the more it opens up what you don't want. There's saying no for certain simple things, and there's saying no for certain more complicated things, okay? You can say no to someone asking you for your number. You can say no to someone asking for a favor. You can stop, say no, just stuff like that, simple things, right? But when it comes to harder things, right? It's like someone asking you, oh, like, a new friend, or just someone that is an addict or just does certain habits that you don't necessarily do, but that they introduced you to, and then you don't know how to face the situation, and you probably freak out, and then you take the hit, or you probably take the shot, and it becomes worse and worse, and then you just become this person that you never thought you would, or never thought you would even be close to become. If you're not familiar with something, say no. Just start knowing who you are and the values that you want to create, instead of just saying yes to what your surrounding is kind of surrounding you with. Start actually just going in your brain and going in your head and actually realizing what you want, what you don't want. And when you feel like you shouldn't be saying yes, don't say yes, because it's going to get worse. And then you're just going to feel this kind of heavy weight on your shoulder, and it's not going to be great. And it's just going to keep adding up. And the more it piles up, it's just going to ruin you and ruin what you thought once would never be ruined. It seems like such a simple thing, but at the same time, it's so much bigger, because saying no is a way to protect yourself from what you shouldn't be doing in the first place, from your intuition and just from your values and what you think is not right for you. So you shouldn't feel shame for saying no. It's your choice, it's your life. You say no. Why should you feel bad for not saying yes? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Does it hurt anyone? No, it doesn't. It's just saying no to a situation you don't want to approach, and that you don't want to put yourself in for a certain kind of risk that you don't want to take. It's a kind of protection. Learn how to say no. It's really important. Really important.